Okay, Assalamualaikum and good morning to our lecturer, uh, TS Dr. Ahmad Fuad Abu Ghani. Okay, my name is Muhammad HAZIM HILMI from Muhammad ASROL. My magic number is B0919101171. Okay, on this presentation, we're gonna present about the assignment 3B for subject 3BMU 4053 Engineering Ethics and Osha. We are from 3 BMMA section 1/2. Okay, next. Okay, this is the background story of what happened on the Chernobyl nuclear power plant accident. On the first point, which is the during on April 26, 1986, the fourth unit of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in Ukraine was destroyed. It was an explosive demolition when the reactor was fully destroyed, which means it's unleashing the massive amount of radioactive chemical into the environment on that area. On the second point, the Chernobyl disaster result in around 30 kilometers of exclusion zone. And the third point is, in this regard, it is evident that engineering and other technical professional ethics should include the pursuit of high quality work. And also, the engineer cannot create items of material culture without spiritual culture. Lastly, engineering ethics is becoming increasingly relevant and also in demand as current technology advances. The Chernobyl tragedy demonstrates that the engineer must be ethical in order to avoid such tragedies in the future. Okay, next.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Hafiz bin YUSLI. My matrix number is B0919104008. So I will present about the engineering ethics. Firstly, according to the e-Cardis and MHATS in 2011, their, their article is about the epidemiological perspective on the Chernobyl accident 251 to 260 in clinical oncology. So they explore that disaster impacts on the human body. So the authors noted that there is an evident link between the effect and the risk of the thyroid cancer. Every day, ionizing radiation impacts humans through a variety of natural sources, including cosmic rays and naturally radioactive elements found in food, drinks, and air. So it is classified as natural radiation. However, there is evidence of illness owing to the high quantity of radiation. The book is beneficial for study since it underlines the impact of the Chernobyl incident radiation level. So according to the E-studies and MH, so there are studies about the impact from the disaster on the human body. So as we can see, the impact of from the disaster is the radioactive in the that effect on our body. So the authors noted that evident link between the effect and the risk of the thyroid cancer. So this impact also affect for the patient of the thyroid cancer. And then the author also said every day our body is our body is ionizing radiation impacts human through a variety of natural sources. So that the author said the our body also have the radiation impacts through the natural sources such as food, tree, and air. So, however, there is an evidence of illness that can be proved on because of the high quantity of radiation on the people surround the power plant. So we move to the next authors, which is Harris, Pritchard, Rabins, James, and Eglehart on 2013. They talk about the engineering ethics, concept, and cases. According to them, they focus on a system of moral principles that apply in the practice of engineering. Authors of the book are considered as scholars, so therefore the credibility of the sources cannot be argued. So combining the theory and the practice, the book demonstrates plenty of cases as well as offers a code of ethics and its application in practice. In addition, the book clearly explains the impact of the engineering solution on health, safety, welfare of society. It was very significant for the research as promote the comprehension of engineer morality. So as we can see, their authors are explaining about the engineering ethics that should be followed for all organization or for all the company. That is to avoid an accident to occur and to avoid the injuries that can happen on their workers. So the guideline of the safety is very important for the organization. So that the injuries and the accident can be reduce the risk to occur. And next, okay, according to the Wilson in 2013, they are using the Chernobyl incident to teach engineering, science, and engineering ethics. So, according to the authors, he reveals that the approach to the teaching engineering ethics. So, it demonstrates the situation when students combine in groups and ask to act and speak like those workers of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, comprehend the issue better and suggest concise and argumentative solution. The author also researched is a research uh, is a professor of the Muskingum University, New Concord, USA. So their intended audience of the article is engineering students. This credible source was rather helpful for the provided analysis as it contributed to the creating of possible decision concerning ethical issue in engineering. So the authors is a research is a professor from Muskingum University in USA. So the authors demonstrate the situation with with their students to act and speak like those workers of Chernobyl nuclear on that day. So if they are demonstrate again what happened on that day, so maybe they can found a clue or tiny things that leads to the accident to occur. So there is one of the method that he used to investigate how the accident can be occur. So next we go to the Yablokov. Next, the author the Yablokov, Nestrenko in 2010, which is the article is Chernobyl, consequence of the catastrophe for people and the environment Boston. So the authors clearly sequentially explain out all the consequences of the accidents, including general morbidity, disability, non-malignant, non-malignant diseases, and other disorder. Furthermore, the book discusses the environmental implication of disaster. It focuses on the radioactive effects on the atmosphere, soil, and water. The book helps people realize the scope of the calamity. It would be fascinating and useful for both students and the general reader. So as we can see, the authors clearly explain about the consequences of the accident. So there is a there is explain all about the consequences, and then he published a book that discuss on the environmental implication of disaster. It is focused on the radioactive effects on the atmosphere, soil and water. So the authors also explain the effects of the radioactive on the atmosphere, soil, and water. As we know, the radioactive is quite dangerous that can affect to the our surrounding. So it's a very dangerous substances to release on our surrounding, and it also can affect our food, our healthy life, and disease can be dangerous for human being too for the incoming time. So next.
Okay, hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Ahmad TAJUDDIN bin Muhammad. My matrix number B0911910222. Okay, for this topic, I'm gonna talk about the environment. Okay, the first point is to, as you can see, the radioactive fallout caused the long-term pollution of thousands of villages in the Soviet Union and other European nations. Okay, until now, there are no civilian still staying at their old house because of the contamination of the radiation. Okay, for the second point is the gamma radiation from the radionuclide deposit in metropolitan areas has contributed to human exposure. Okay, so when human exposed to the gamma radiation, it is not safe to live in the area. So the civilian have move out to the others place. Okay, for the third for the third point is dose rate in the air in typical metropolitan location have steadily decreased over time due to radioactive decay of the initial radionuclide combination wash off from solid surface and soil soil immigration. Okay, so for the last point, when the radioactive fallout landed on the communities, it damaged exposed surface including lawns, parks, street, rooftop, and walls with the radionuclide. Okay, as you can see in the environment, uh, apa ni, sekejap. Apa ni aku datang pula. Okay, for the last point, when radioactive fallout landed on the communities, it damaged exposed surface, including lawns, parks, street, rooftop, and walls with the radionuclide. Okay, next. Okay, as you can see in the graph, okay, this is the ratio of radiation dose rate above different surface in the open field. Okay, as you can see the location factor, this is the radiation point. Okay, and that the the bottom one is for the time after the incident. Okay, for after years and a half, it still contain high radiation, and after starting the fourth year, okay, it began to drop, and after the 9 years, it began to maintain the contamination radiation, uh, and still not safe for the human to stay in the place. Okay, next.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Asrul Mechanic and my metric number is P09190149 and I will present about organization. Okay. For the origination, actually there are a lot of organization have joined and follow up the issue, but there are three organization are the main as a big organization, which is a food and agriculture organization, WHO, and National Environment Program, UNEP. So they made a decision to establish the Synobi as a series of managerial, expert and public meeting was met with the intention of producing authoritative consensus statement on the health consequences attributable to radiation exposure resulting from the accident. Then they identify gap in scientific research related to radiation or radioactive contamination in the health and environmental repercussion of the disaster and recommend topic for the additional investigation based on pure work and existing effort. Lastly, they give guidance on and support implementation of a scientifically sound program on mitigating accident impact, including potential combined activity of forum participants such as reclaiming polluted land for normal agriculture, economy and social activity. Next.
Assalamualaikum. Good morning. So my name is Muhammad Akmal Hakimi bin NORAZMI and my matrix number is B0919103990. I will present about the planning and the conclusion for this presentation. So the one that in charge is the engineer that in charge on the project or place. The engineer must more alert about the environment that around the workstation to provide accident that happen. This is the some example accident that happen if the engineer that in charge does not do their job properly. So the first is that it made to continue the experiment by improving on the original plan without a review of the safety hazard of the proper change. So the second is not an acceptable strategy in any effort where human life is at stake and is a particular flagrant in the case of nuclear power where potentially thousands of lives are at stake. Next is the not fully informed of the planning experiment and its producer. And the last is the experiment must not plan in accord with a normal safety regarding but was instead of treated with more relaxing standard. Okay, next. So for the conclusion, for this assignment that conclude that the workers need a good rest before punch in the work before to because of to avoid litter during work. The workers also need to take serious their job and know what they handle with. This accident involving nuclear power plant, but their work take everything simple. Good organization also need when conducting a serious resource such as nuclear. Next. That's all from our group presentation. Thank you.